Today I'm going to show you how to put together your blocks in a quilt as you go style using the Sashlee Lineworks ruler. So first you'll want to get your blocks laid out, and you can see that I have already quilted these blocks so they're ready to be put together. When determining strip size, I need to you will want to figure out how much extra batting and backing fabric you will need to hang out into that behind the strip area. So I've decided I'm going to do a 2-inch strip, which means that 1/4 of an inch is going to be my seam allowance with my top fabric, and then I need 3/4 inch of batting and back sticking out on this side and on that side. So together that'll be the 2-inch span. You can make your sashing anywhere from 1/2 inch to 3 inches with the Sashlee tool. So I'm going to show you a couple different ways to get these sewn together. First, after you determine your sashing size and get your blocks quilted, you might have to use some batting tape to join another little piece of batting to span this gap if you don't have enough. It's mostly important that you have the batting in there. The backing is optional to have that full span or not. Then you will want to cut your strips. You're going to cut your strips double the width. So it's a 2-inch strip. This is a 2-inch sash. I want a 4-inch strip, and that's because I'm going to press it over like this, where the 2 ends come back and meet in the middle. And I have them cut to length to go across my block. You will also need the same size strip pressed the same way for the back strip that's going to cover the backing. So I'm going to bring these strips over to the sewing machine and show you a couple different ways to put them down. It doesn't really matter which size strip you're working with, the technique is the same. So let's get to sewing. So the first way I'm going to show you is the cleanest way to do this, which you won't have any top stitching showing. So I'm going to, this is my back strip. I'm going to unfold one side of it, and I'm going to align that with the bottom edge of my top block, because this is the sashing I'm working on now is between the top block and the center. So it's up to you. You can create your strips to be the full length of your edge of your block, or since I know I'm going to be coming over the top with another strip here, I don't have to go all the way to the edge, but I do want these two raw edges to be lined up nicely. Now I'm going to take my top sashing strip, and I'm going to do the same thing, where I'm going to fold it out on one side. Now that I have my strips in place with right sides of fabric together, so the back fabric is touching the right side of the back strip, the top fabric or the batting is touching the right side of the top strip. Now I'm going to get out my Sashlee quilt template, and it looks like this. So I have a port that I can get in and out of, but really with this technique I don't need to use that too often. The lines on this template are marked depending on how big your sashing is going to be. So like I said, if you wanted a 1/2 inch or all the way up to 3 inches. Since I'm using 2 inches, I would be using that reference line. So I'm going to come up to the top of my strip, and I'm using this 2-inch line on the edge of my fabric. And I'm just going to set my foot down in that channel and sew across. I have my number 72 ruler foot on, and so I'm going to tell my machine that. And here we go. So I'll just come down that span of that channel. And I really don't even have to bring up my bobbin thread for this type of ruler work because I'm just creating a seam. You can even choose to leave your feed dogs up for this, which will help you get a more even stitch. Or you can put them down like you normally would with ruler work and use the template to move your fabric and advance your fabric. Okay, got to the end there. So now I have both of my strips attached to my 4A piece. This is the top. I'm going to flip it over. Oh, actually, I'm not going to flip it over. I'm going to fold this top strip out and then orient my 4B block so that the top of that block is going to be at the top or on that strip. Okay, so with this second piece, I'm not attaching the backing strip at the same time as the front. I'm going to actually hand sew that backing strip down. So I just have that top fabric laid down with right sides together. I'm using that 2-inch line again to figure out where I need to be in reference to that edge. And again, I'm just going to cruise down this channel. Just that simple. So if I flip this one over, you can see that that top strip is laid down nicely. My batting is butting right up to each other. And if you look at the back side, I just have that strip sewn to one side, and I'm going to bring it over and hand stitch this down so that it's a really clean look. Then I will have the opportunity, since I made this nice 2-inch sash, to come in and do some little fill designs to just continue on the quilting process. So that's option 1. Option 2 is to machine stitch the entire thing. So let me grab a couple more blocks and I'll show you how to do that technique. I have blocks 4C and 4D, and I'm going to be attaching those together. I'm going to show you how to do this all by machine. So I'm going to get the blocks oriented the way that I want, and it's going to start out the same. So I'm going to set 4D aside, and backing strip is going to be opened up and laid underneath. Like so. And then top strips coming down, right sides together with the top of the block. And again, we have a 2-inch sash, so we're going to use that 2-inch mark on the edge of our quilt sandwich here. Just kind of making sure everything's in line, raw edges together, and down we're going to sew. Okay, now's where it gets just a little bit tricky. So we're going to fold that back strip out, and we're going to put in our block even with the top block, and then we're going to come across with our top strip. You may choose to put some fabric glue down to ensure that nothing shifts or wiggles or gets out of place when you do this. The next thing we're going to do is I like to use this glow line tape to mark on my ruler a spot to line up with. So you can see this stuff is just re-stickable. Comes in a pack of 3 colors. And I can set that up so it's a reference spot for me to just align with the edge of my strip here. So I'm going to be sewing about 1/8 of an inch in. You can do a 1/4 inch, which would be a little bit easier to hit, but you're going to end up with a little bit of a flanged effect, you'll see as we get this stitch down. So using my little glow line tape to get aligned, I'm going to set my foot down. And I'm just gonna slide along, trying to keep that from, I might have to roll my foot up just a little bit so that I'm not pushing that top fabric as I go. And I'm kind of moving a lot at first here. And the reason for that is I really want to make sure that both sides of my ruler are on my project. I was kind of hanging off the end here where I started, and that's never as stable. So now I know you're thinking that this is going to look unbalanced because there's stitching on one side and there's not stitching on the other side. But we're going to come back and do a little top stitching down that other side to even them out. So there you have it. You have just a little bit of a flange. It actually looks kind of nice. So then you can come up on this side, and I've just flipped my template over so that my little marked glow line strips are on the other side. And we'll just cruise down this side. And one last little shift here. So it just gives you a nice little double-edged border. The only difference is this is going to be flanged, and then on the back here it's also flanged, and the one side is sewn down. So that's the way you can do it all by machine. So pretty slick way to put together a quilt and have it stay nice and easy and manageable while you're quilting it in smaller pieces. So thanks for joining us. Get your own Sashlee quilt ruler at the retailer that carries Westalee rulers near you. And we'll see you next time.